being brought on their way by the church, they passed through. Let me jump past that. All right, fourth verse. And when they, Paul and Barnabas, will come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church. Now, if they had the internet, they could have put the question in there. Elder, I got a question. What does this mean? You don't got to get on the boat and go to Jerusalem. All right? The power of the unicorn. It says, and when they will come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church and of the apostles and elders. And they declared all things that the Most High had done with them. It says, but there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, meaning they accept Yahweh Shai, but they were keeping the laws and the sacrifices and so forth, that it was needful to circumcise them and to commend them to keep the law of Moses, meaning get circumcised, keep the Sabbaths, keep the high holy days. And back then, I will agree that they were following the animal sacrifices too, which it was getting out of their system at that time through men such as Paul and Peter and the other apostles, right? But the key thing was the circumcision, man. Because I'm going to read it again, 5. Acts 15 and 5. But there rose up certain of the sect of Pharisees which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them, these Israelite foreigners, and to command them to keep the law of Moses, all the laws of Moses. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter. 7. And when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, men and brethren, you know how that a good while ago the Most High made choice among us that the Gentiles, Israelites in a Gentile state of mind, by my mouth, okay, because he had the meeting to sit down with Cornelius, which was an Israelite, by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe. 8 verse. And the Most High, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them that the Holy Spirit, even as he did unto us. And put no difference between us and them. That's why it says no difference between the Jew and the Greek. Which one of your men, top men, Nate, went off in the Bronx, and I had to get on you about that, man. Purifying their hearts by faith. All right? Now, therefore, why tempt ye the Most High to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? Because they were doing everything by the letter of the law.
Well, that's that yoke, circumcision of the flesh. That yoke.
Besides that, it was all those other things. But it's the argument started with circumcision
of the flesh.
All right, circumcision of the flesh. But then these guys came that believed and said, wait a minute, you got to keep all the laws, which I agree with you on that. Right. But it started with circumcision. Right. Okay? Right. Now, it shows you when you go to the 16th chapter, which is the next chapter over, Acts 16, it says, Acts 16 and 1. Then came he to Derbe and Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman, which was a Jewish, meaning she was a Jew, and she believed that the Messiah came, accepted the Messiah, but his father was a Greek. Now, if you're not deep, you're going to picture a white man, so you're going to say Timothy is a white man. All right? That's why the HODC, they still think that Cornelius is an Edomite. There's nothing deep about those guys. They're low shelf. They're low shelf, man. That's why they take breaks all the goddamn time. Second verse, which was well reported of by the brethren that were at Lystra and Iconium. Third verse, him would Paul have to have to go forth with him, and took and circumcised him. So is this circumcised in the 16th chapter the same circumcision in the 15th chapter? Yes. Yes. Now these guys that commanded that you got to be circumcised, were they also talking about keeping all the other laws? Yes. But it's talking about circumcision, man. In the 15th chapter and the 16th chapter, it's talking about circumcision of the foreskin. Him would Paul have to go forth with him, and took and circumcised him, because of the Jews which were in those quarters, for they knew all that his father was a Greek. 4th verse. And as they went through the city, they delivered them the decrees for to keep, that were ordained of the apostles and elders which were at Jerusalem. I ain't going to read no more on that. But anyway, the circumcision in Acts 16 that Paul made Timothy to get circumcised is the same circumcision in Acts the 15th chapter. All right? So you went off on that, Nate. You clearly went off. Now the next step was to keep all those other laws. I agree with you on that. But it's talking about circumcision. Okay? So you got to get your act together. Young man. Boy.
I believe that nigga said that, let me see if I got this right. He said it wasn't talking about circumcision because circumcision came from Abraham and not Moses.
When you read the book of, I believe it's Joshua, yeah. It was established by Abraham, and it was given to Moses. Moses kind of slipped and almost got killed by a death angel, and he was the one that made the Israelites of his generation to circumcise himself. Now, when they went to the wilderness, guess what? That new generation that was born in the wilderness, they wasn't even circumcised, man. And Joshua had to reinstitute it and make them Israelites that wasn't circumcised, because Israel was being wicked, man. And circumcision is a covenant between Abraham and the Most High, which is a covenant between us and the Most High, man. So in the 15th chapter of Acts, it's talking about actual circumcision. Acts the 16th chapter is talking about circumcision. So Paul actually got Timothy to get circumcised. Paul didn't say, okay, now keep all the other laws. So get your act together. Now let's go into these scriptures here. These nasty scriptures. How many of you guys, you can make a video and you can respond whatever way you want to. You believe that the Most High is talking to you, right? You hear a voice. Look, if you go up the block, 2 blocks up, and turn left and go into that garbage can, there's going to be $10,000 in there. You don't know if that's Satan talking to you. You don't know if that's the Most High talking to you, right? And he says, I'm the Most High, Yahweh, or Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. I'm Yahweh Shai. So you don't know if that's Satan or whatever. So you go, out of curiosity, you open it up and there's $10,000. Then next week he tells you something else. This is Yahweh Shai, son of Yahweh. If you do this, that, and the third, this is going to happen. You're going to get a blessing. Get that blessing, right? After a while, you start, hey, Lord, haven't talked to me in a couple of days. So you waiting for him to give you something, right? One day he come to you. He said, do you have faith in me, son? He said, yeah, I have faith. Will you do anything for me? Yes. You're the Lord. You got a son, right? You got a son. That's your beloved son. Firstborn, secondborn, whatever. That's a son that you love. You and your wife love, man. That's your pride and joy right there. That same spirit that come to you, it says if you go up the block, you get $10,000. If you do this, you get this blessing. He tells you, look, that's your son. You like your son, right? Oh, hell yeah, I love my son. Why forgive me my son? Well, look, I'm going to take your son back. but you're going to have to sacrifice him. You're going to have to kill him. You know that's in the scriptures? And the Lord came to Abraham. It was Abraham who the Lord came to and said, look, you got to sacrifice your son. And you know what he did? Oh, and then other people knew about it. Nobody called the cops either. You know? There were no snitches back then. I believe it was 2 servants, and they were the ones that got the wood together and the altar, and even Isaac said,